Hello, my name is Veronica Honeyman. Today I am presenting about human resource management. I am a human resources student at Pierce College, and I am actually going to be receiving my certificate this semester. So this is definitely something that's really exciting for me. Now, in this interview, I had interviewed Catherine Crawford O'Connor. She currently works for the University of Wisconsin for PBS Public Radio and Wisconsin Public Radio. She has been with the University of Wisconsin for about 13 years. However, she did not start out doing human resources. She actually just started out being an assistant, but then basically they were falling behind on the human resources portion of their team, so she stepped in. She really fell in love with the human aspect of human resources and decided to convert over to it. She started out as human resources assistant and has recently been promoted to human resource manager. So it's definitely something that's exciting for her, and it was definitely a joy to interview her. Now, before we get started, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about human resources and basically why human resources is important. Every company, really has them, but a lot of people don't understand fully the things that they do. First, Merriam-Webster defines its importance as the ability to view employees as valuable assets. They can identify talent and develop them, meanwhile creating an environment of positivity which breeds mutual success. So basically, they cultivate the work environment. They build strong teams, set the standards for pay, benefits, policies, and most importantly, they support and communicate with employees. Now, this presentation is going to be a guideline of what human resources does, the skills that they have or should have to be successful, the challenges they face, and how they navigate through the hiring process, and tips on how to gain access into this industry. Now, with everything going on with COVID-19, people are really dependent now more than ever on the Human Resources Department. And a huge example of that is the interpretation of those issues and laws. Now, we're going to go over human resources issues and laws. Catherine had mentioned the biggest issue her team is facing right now are the new federal guidelines regarding leave and interpreting how those coincide with the company's leave policies. COVID-19 really has changed the face of human resources, and even working, with people that have been in the human resources department for a long time, there's just a lot of changes going on right now. The two major changes that were enacted this year were the Emergency Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA, which is a part of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. The Families First Coronavirus Response Act states that businesses or those with less than 500 employees must provide 80 hours of paid sick leave. It also kind of coincides with the Families First Coronavirus Response Act because it is paid leave for parents who have to leave work to take care of their children due to daycares and schools being shut down. The kind of gap between what's coming out now with laws and where Catherine was stuck was that they were ordered 80 hours of leave, but what happens when those 80 hours of leave run out? Basically, what ended up happening is Catherine was working with her team, meeting with her human resources team every day for meetings to establish some sort of plan for what happens afterwards. A lot of information is coming out to the Human Resources Department right now. A few of the things that she does to keep up are those weekly meetings and the SHRM site, just because there's so much data coming out at one time. Now moving on, we are going to discuss 10 behavioral job interview questions. And These are important when you're looking for new candidates, just because it's something that forces them to think critically. It's not something that is on the spot. It's not a yes or no question. Um, so it's something that they really have to think about, so you kind of get the character behind that candidate. All right, the first question is, describe a time in the workplace where you have had a conflict with a coworker and how did you handle it? This question is important because it forces them to come up with a past conflict that they've been in. The answer can be critical for moving forward. Did they handle it in a professional way? Were they able to express their emotions without being too upset and rational? Were they able to calmly work through that situation? So you need to be able to evaluate if your future employees will be able to handle high stress situations and maintain emotion. The next question is, do you have any regrets in life? This is definitely an important question because you are assessing their ability to accept that they can make a mistake. We want employees that are coachable, people that we can see saying, I made a mistake, I learned from it, and this is what I can do next time. If they're not coachable, then it's kind of, you're going to have issues moving forward. Next question would be, tell me about a time that you had to de-escalate a situation with a customer and what ended up being the outcome. Now, this is a really good question because it assesses your candidates' communication and problem-solving skills. Do they really truly have people skills? And how will they remedy a conflict when it arises? So it's definitely something that if it's going to be a customer service job, that you need to make sure that that candidate has those skills. Now, the next question is, tell me about a time when you set your goals too high. Now, this gives a view of how candidates handle failure. A lot of the times, if we set goals too high, we may not maintain those goals. Do they stop and accept defeat, or do they, go and start again and basically, try harder that next time? This is definitely something that you're looking for in a candidate, because if something happens on the job, are they just going to give up, or are they the type of person that will push through and persevere? Now, the next question is going to be, what was your favorite or most exciting aspect of your current or previous job? This is a really good question because it gives you a look into the passion that your current candidate might have, or if they have a passion at all. It's definitely something that you want to have in a candidate when you hire them. And it shows that they can bring passion and positivity to an environment, and that the energy that they bring will fit into your environment, basically. Now, the next question is, tell me about a time that you went above and beyond as opposed to just taking the bare minimum. What made you take that initiative? This basically establishes that they're not the type of employee that just does the bare minimum and goes home for the day. We want candidates that go for goals, and we want to see what drives these candidates, and are they going to bring that same passion to this experience here? Now, the next question is, tell me about a time that you had to influence or convince a manager or coworker of a new strategy to accomplish a task. What approach did you take to convince them? This is huge, just to see their ability to influence people, but also, some leadership abilities. A lot of the times, if something doesn't work in a certain way, you need to be able to brainstorm and think of a different way, and nobody's always going to be on the same page. So do you have that ability to convince others to do what needs to be done? It's definitely something that we would be looking for in a candidate. Now, the next question is, describe to me a situation where you witnessed someone doing something unethical or you were asked to participate in something unethical. What did you do in that situation? So we're definitely using this question to get candidates to target situations that are unethical and see if they do the right thing, or if they just don't say anything, or if they actively try and fix the situation. who is this candidate when no one is looking? Can you trust this person on the job? And most importantly, it does reflect their integrity and their principles and character. So you want to make sure that you're putting the right person in these positions. Next is describe a time when you had conflicting deadlines and how you met them all. So a lot of times things come up when you're working, and a lot of people have conflicting deadlines. It's just how you have time management and how you're able to move forward. Does this person have time management skills? You're looking for an answer that, basically said, I had little time, but I worked my way through it. I persevered. Now, the last question is, what is the greatest achievement in your career? Now, this not only reflects their prior achievements, but their strongest skills. What traits do they have that drove them to this success, and how will they benefit from this position? Now, this is also really good because it presents to you what this person can bring to your company. These achievements that they've had before, is it something that would push your business forward to succeeding in the current market? So it's definitely something that you want to look out for as well. And it gives, a little bit of insight on the employee as well. Now, the next thing that we're going to cover is the 5 specific soft skills needed for human resources. A recent article states that about 92% of hiring managers say that soft skills are more important than hard skills in a job search. And the same research also said that 89% of new hires that don't work out are lacking soft skills. So these are something that, everybody on paper may have the same technical skills, but what are these things, characteristics, and traits that they have that sets them apart? Now, Catherine mentioned that her biggest resource is her human resource team. With the pandemic, there's so much information that is coming out on the daily basis. And basically, you have to be able to process this information and relate it to employees. You are the person that employees come to when they have an issue, and they have to be able to feel like you would understand them in order to open up to you. Next would be team-oriented. Catherine basically mentioned that without her team, she would be lost. They have frequent team meetings almost daily to discuss new information about what needs to be done and the best information to get out to employees. Being able to work in a team, to communicate and brainstorm together is something that is critical for human resources because there are always new laws and information coming out, and you have to be able to work together to figure out how to best coordinate those to your employees. The next is unique. Whenever she's doing hiring presentations, she's always looking for that person that is a little bit outside of the box. Those people have definitely a more unique way of thinking, and they bring something different to the table, of perspective that others may not have. The next would be somebody who is receptive. This means that you're able to take feedback. You are in the business of human beings. You have to be a good listener, because how will you be able to hear what's wrong or hear what employees need? You have to lead by example. And, you really have to be a good communicator. That's number 5. It is the people business, like I just said. You're communicating verbally, written. You're in constant contact with employees and new candidates, interviewing, talking on the phone, scheduling, doing payroll. Insurance is a whole different ballpark, and you have to be able to convey the options to your employees. All right, so the next topic is going to be factors management use designing professional development for employees. A big part of human resources is developing your employees. If you take the time to develop your employees and basically invest in them, you're investing back into your own company. So it's definitely something that's important. Now, a couple ways to do that. The first would be mentorship. It's basically a mutual sharing of knowledge. You have new employees that are coming in that are being mentored by people that have so much experience in the business, that have been